Bonjour, Leo.
Bonjour, good afternoon.
How are you? All good?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, alhamdulillah. All good, all good. So we're the first to arrive?
Yeah.
Cool, okay. So Luda was nice enough to send me my new email address, but in Russian. I tried following the guidelines, but I really got lost. I really got lost. So someday you will guide me through it, inshallah.
Okay, good.
Okay. So how would it work? We just wait for them to land?
Let's keep for a while, maybe a minute or two. Yes, people will join, and Ahmed will join. We will also add him as a panelist.
Okay, very good. And we are scheduled for an hour. Any idea how many participants have already registered?
I don't have numbers. Yes, it was a lot, but let's see. So yes, we will. By the way, we are all already online.
Okay.
So yeah,
cool.
You'll send also the link to community now.
Excellent. Very good. So I'll start just with the introduction, and then I'll give it to you, to Ahmed, and move forward. Okay?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So I'm waiting for your sign, boss.
Okay.
Bonjour, Ahmed.
Hi everyone.
Hi Ahmed. How are you?
Sorry, I was using the different link.
Okay, so now it's fine. So maybe let's start, not to punish people who came in time. Anyway, we are recording and we will do extended video about all this. And those who will be later, they will be able to see it in record. So Nader.
Okay, I guess that's because I'm the oldest one in the room. So anyway, so bonjour everybody. I'm Nader Bassett, for those of you who don't know me. I'm a co-founder of Tawreed, and I'm also the co-founder and CEO of several other companies. HoReCa Investments, which is the holding company for Kulsha King, El Greco, Nam Nam Asia, Renwa, and SDG Catering. I'm also the founder and the chairman of NAB Group, which is the master franchisee for Subway in Egypt, among other companies as well. Today, I'm honored and pleased to be joined by my co-founder for Tawreed and the current CEO for Tawreed, Leo Komissarov, who is an entrepreneur in his own right. And I'll give him the floor to introduce himself. And also joined by Ahmed Ibrahim, who is the founder and the partner of Ibrahim and Partners law firm. Again, another legal authority in his own right. And I'll also give him the floor to introduce himself. Just a small word before we move into the introduction and move into the webinar. Well, it's what is Tawreed and why are we here today? Tawreed Co. or Tawreed is a community, it's a club, and it has an aim to help improve the ecosystem of the F&B industry overall. By this, ultimately, we want to become, as Tawreed, as a one-stop daily routine for any F&B professional, anyone in the field, for him to transact, to be able to trade, to be able to get informed, updated, and in any means helped in a win-win fashion to improve and to be bigger in a profitable fashion. That's what Tawreed is doing. And today, we're not talking about buying and selling. We'll be talking about a subject that a lot of us are actually having many questions on, and that's what is the new regulation, what is the new law on the ownership of non-Emirati citizens of a whole business in the UAE. How is this going to impact us? What are the things we know today? What are the things we still don't know? And how can we partner with a reputable firm like Ibrahim and Partners law firm to guide us through the process, and then for those of you interested to actually help you get the process done. So now this is the introduction I wanted to have for the session today. And if you allow me, Leo, please introduce yourself, and then we give the floor to Ahmed.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So my name is Leo. I am founder and CEO of several companies working and operating in Emirates. One of them is ICO Middle East, second is Tawreed, and third one is Jico. So all these companies are about IT for restaurants. And I'm also co-founder of small restaurant chain in Russia. We have 6 stores. And yeah, I was luckily enough became once upon a time one of the founders of the UAE restaurant community, and 7,000 of restaurants in this community. So that's my field. Yeah, and a lot of questions from community came regarding new law for mainland companies. For sure, as all of us or most of us here foreigners. So the law about international ownership is quite sensitive, and for sure it affects restaurants. So, and any changes here can provide more possibilities for restaurants. So that's why we decided to make this webinar to explain what we have currently in hands and what is the roadmap, what is the future, and when situation will be more clear, and what any restaurant owner can exactly do with it. So that's the thing.
Ahmed, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nader, and thank you, Leo. And thanks everyone for your time today and for giving me this opportunity to share with you my views on the new amendments to the company's law. And let me start with sharing a bit of background information about myself and what we do. I've been, around in this region for more than 25 years now, advising different type of companies, whether multinational companies or local companies, in a different span of activities, whether food and beverage, agriculture, oil and gas, or real estate. I've assisted probably all of the companies in the UAE since the global financial crisis to list either on DFM or in ADX. So we've led all the IPOs that probably you've heard about since the global financial crisis, whether Dubai Mall or ADNOC or Amanat or Marca or what have you. We had good and bad IPOs, but ultimately as a legal counsel, it's not really related to us. We only assist them to list. In today's webinar, I think the main purpose is to shed more light on the new incremental reforms that have taken place on the new companies law. It's been long awaited by everyone to see what would be the new amendments. As you may be aware, the new companies law has completely changed back in 2015, and everyone was expecting that the new law back then in 2015 will be a completely makeover to the repealed companies law of 1984. But unfortunately, there were a lot of disappointment to everyone, because the law back in 2015 actually didn't address all the hopes that all the investment community were looking for, particularly when it comes to foreign ownership in companies. So everyone was just waiting to see more liberalization in the companies law, but unfortunately at that point in time, there were a great deal of disappointments that the new companies law really has not addressed that. It was also accompanied with another fact that everyone was expecting that the new law will somehow abolish the requirements for example, public joint stock company to have the majority board members of UAE national. And unfortunately, the law continued to require that. In these very recent updates, the new law has touched upon many of the aspects that really of a concern to the business community, particularly when it comes to foreign direct investment. Before the issuance of the very recent amendments to the companies law, there was an attempt to issue the law of foreign direct investment. And the aim of that, and let me touch upon this very quickly, is somehow to give the flexibility and the liberalism required to allow foreign investors to own their business in the UAE. And in order to be allowed to do that, you had to file an application to a committee affiliated to the economic department of each Emirates, and then they will look into this on an ad hoc basis, and they have a great deal of discretionary power whether they will grant you the approval to become, or to enjoy the benefits of the foreign direct investment law or not. And again, it was a further disappointment because it was, always subject to discretionary power of the committee, and has not really been so supportive to all the business community to allow them to own their business. And finally, in late 2020, the cabinet of the UAE issued the new incremental reforms on the new companies law, which actually touch upon all the concerns of the business community, whether for private companies, whether it's a private joint stock companies or LLCs, and more importantly as well, the public joint stock companies or those companies who are willing or aiming to do IPOs. I don't know if we can really share the presentation on the screen, Nader, or
yeah, you can share.
Let me try to do it. Share screen. Does it come?
Yeah, fine.
Okay, great. So if we start by the beginning, definitely, and actually, unfortunately, this is not my picture. So, and the first slide that we have today is that basically summarizes and touch upon the background that I've just given, is that the new law ultimately ended up the inherited conservative approach of the business community in the UAE, that companies will have to be owned 51% by foreigners. And we all are aware that all private companies were trying to enter into a lot of side agreements with UAE individuals or UAE service providers to allow them to own their companies through the sponsor or the nominee arrangement. Now this has come to an end, and ultimately business communities and foreign investors will be allowed to own their business 100%. Is it that simple? Is it that clear? Definitely no. That's why, you know, you always need a lawyer, and that's how we do business. So the new law mentioned in the very forefront of the law, that this new incremental reform will be coincided with the issuance of a new list of activities, which called the strategic activities, or the activities with a strategic impact. The cabinet will somehow constitute a committee, and this committee will sit together to formulate a list of activities that they believe will have a strategic impact on the UAE economy. And based on that, they will determine which type of companies will be benefiting from the foreign or 100% foreign ownership of business. However, we know from, you know, sources in the government that definitely they will follow a very liberal approach when they determine the strategic activities that will be somehow restricted to UAE nationals. And in principle, it will be related to, for example, water and electricity supply, labor supply, anything that will be related to the dealing in cash, like, for example, the money exchange business. If there will be any financing activities like banks or financing institutions, probably these will be the activities that will be restricted to UAE national, or at least will require a minimum percentage of ownership from a UAE national. For all our purposes of today's webinar, we don't think that the list that will be determined by this committee will affect your business, will affect your ability to own your business 100%. If we move on to the rules that will be affecting your business, and somehow the new incremental reforms on the LLC companies, maybe it will not really have a lot of practical impact, because some of them is related to holding of general assemblies, passing resolutions in the general assembly of LLCs. And we all know that when it comes to limited liability companies, unlike the public joint stock companies, maybe not all the companies will regularly have annual general assembly. Maybe it will always be somehow written resolutions. However, from a very strict legal standpoint, the new law or the new amendments to the companies law provides a lot of enhancement and a lot of ease in doing business. And the first amendment that touched upon the LLC provisions is now the sole shareholders company. And this concept was introduced under the law number 2 of 2015, the company's law, which basically allow shareholders or investors to have a sole shareholder company. Previously, any limited liability company has to be owned by a minimum of 2 members, and then they've introduced the concept of having a company that will be wholly owned by a single shareholder. However, when they introduced this concept at the very beginning, they assumed that this individual, this single shareholder, must be a UAE national. Otherwise, you will not be allowed to own 100% of your company as a single shareholder. This concept has been abolished by the new companies law, and now foreign investors, even one shareholder of a foreign nationality, can still own 100% of the company, and you can have a single shareholder company that will be ultimately owned by a foreign individual, which is a very important incremental reform to remove completely the requirements that the single shareholder company, this single shareholder must be a UAE national. So now the single shareholder can be of any nationality. Again, this follows somehow the concept of the activities with strategic purposes. Until now, there is no clear cut about what would be these activities, but as I just explained, we don't expect that these activities will be extensive. It will be limited to the very strategic type of activities that I just explained. Otherwise, businesses and other activities will be allowed to be held by foreigners. Moving on, to the second reform. And maybe not everyone will be over concerned, particularly when it comes to doing business, if there will be any dispute between the shareholders. We as lawyers will always see the half empty of the glass of water, and we always think what will happen in case of disagreements. And that was creating a huge deal of confusion between the shareholders, and which dispute resolution forum the shareholders or the partners in an LLC can resort to. To put this simply, if you have the MOA of your company and you have your relationship with your local sponsor, for example, as we speak now, would you go to the local courts? Can you do this through arbitration? Can you do this through different unconventional type of dispute resolution? It has always been challenging to agree on that in the MOAs. Now, under the new companies law, under the new amendments, the partners and the shareholders will always have the right to determine a dispute resolution forum. So you and your shareholders can agree that in case of anything that might arise between the shareholders and themselves, they can refer the matters to mediation, for example, or they can refer the matter to arbitration. Not necessarily you will end up in courts. For example, you may decide to have some sort of specialized arbitration tribunal specialized in food and beverage, for example, that will be looking into any dispute between the shareholders. And again, and maybe this has not been faced by many shareholders, but we've seen it from our experience before, that this has created a lot of issues, and typically partners would like to have like-minded people to look into their dispute, which is now available under the new amendments to the company's law. Again, one of the maybe new amendments is the ease of calling for a general assembly, and this somehow is linked to the statement that I've just explained, that maybe it's a little bit of a theoretical reform, because most of the limited liability companies will not really call for general assemblies. However, if you have a strategic partner, if you have a joint venture partner, you will always have to have a general assembly meeting, and you need to follow all the regulations and all the process set out in the company's law to make sure that your general assembly resolution and all the decisions that will be taken by the general assembly are valid and will not be challenged by any of the shareholders or by the regulator themselves. So they've eased the manner where the general assembly can be convened. However, to protect the best interest of the shareholders, they've extended the time period required to call for the general assembly. And let me give you a bit of historical development on this. In the law of 1984, the minimum notice period was 21 days, and then this has been minimized to 15 days under the new company's law number 2 of 2015. But the World Bank somehow issued guidance to the UAE government that it is very crucial to all shareholders to have the notice 21 days ahead of the time of the meeting. So it gives them the opportunity to prepare themselves, to give them the opportunity to arrange or make the arrangement if they are not available for someone else to attend on their behalf. And that's why the UAE government adhered to the directives of the World Bank, and they've extended back again the notice period of the General Assembly's meeting from 15 days, and they returned it back to 21 days. And as I mentioned, they've tried to introduce more flexibility in relation to holding of General Assembly meetings. And now they allow for somehow potential or having General Assembly meetings through electronic means. And again, previously that was not a possibility. Technically, all shareholders will have to meet physically to pass a resolution. Now there is a great deal of flexibility, and shareholders can have a meeting through either Zoom or MS Teams meeting, and this meeting will be deemed valid, and can be, minuted in a manner that will protect the best interest of all the participants in this shareholders meeting. Again, it might be theoretical to some of you, but there are other limited liability companies where you can have different or fragmented shareholders base where they actually need to have shareholders meeting on an annual or on a regular basis, where this will provide a great deal of flexibility to the shareholders. Once we have the shareholders meeting taking place, previously under the old law, you need to have at least an attendance quorum of 75%. Sometimes, as you can imagine, this quorum might not be satisfied in the first meeting, and the meeting will have to be postponed for another meeting within 5 days, and then for a third meeting for not less than 1 month. Now they have decreased the quorum of attendance from 75% to 50%, again in an attempt to make the life of the shareholders much easier and not to hinder the operations of the company by any shareholder who might take a little bit of an abuse his right of attendance and decide to block or somehow delay the operations of the company by not attending the general assembly. So now the minimum quorum for attendance is 50%, and if this quorum is not satisfied in the first meeting, another meeting will be held after a minimum of 5 days, and basically this meeting will be approved or will be valid regardless of the number of shareholders that will be attending the meeting. The other point, again, we've seen this particularly when it comes during the pandemic of coronavirus. We've seen a lot of companies suffering a lot of financial liquidity problems, and a lot of investors wanted to inject more money into the company to survive into these difficult days. And as you can imagine, there are always shareholders or investors that their interests are not aligned. Sometimes they have conflicting interests, not just not being aligned. And shareholders might even try to stop the ability to raise the capital of the company, to inject money, just to harm the other shareholder or the practice or the operations of the company. The new companies law now intervened and basically allowed the shareholders that owning at least 75%, that if they believe that the 25% shareholder is trying somehow to block the resolution to pass a capital increase or a capital reduction to extinguish the losses of the company just by way of abusing his right, then definitely the shareholders will have the right to resort to court, and the court will impose on the minority shareholder the ability for the company either to decrease or reduce its capital depending on the view of the majority. So somehow putting a mechanism to the majority shareholder to circumvent or rule out any misbehave from the minority shareholder if this misbehavior will be related to the insolvency of the company during difficult time. As a concluding provisions in relation to the limited liability companies is basically imposed that all limited liability companies will have to comply with the new regulations and the new law. And basically the ultimate way of doing this is the articles or the memorandum of association of the companies will need to be amended to reflect the new amendments to the company's law. They've given 1 year for all companies to adhere to the new company's law. However, our recommendation is always not to wait for last minute. You better off start doing all your housekeeping ahead of time. Try to update your MOA and articles in a manner that really match and in line with the new amendment to the company's law, because you never know what would happen in a year time. Maybe you can face another pandemic or something can happen in the background that would prevent you from reflecting the new amendments to the company's law in your article. So we always recommend that you start as soon as you can by refreshing your article of association to reflect the new amendments of the company's law, particularly to avoid any penalties that will be imposed by the DED, which is, as we speak now, it's 100 dirhams per day. Each day of delay in implementing the new law will trigger a penalty of 100 dirhams. Again, Article 329 introduces a very important concept, and we have seen in many other companies that instead of opening a subsidiary or instead of opening a limited liability company, they tried to open a branch office of foreign companies. So you can have a company elsewhere in the world and you can open a branch office here in the in an attempt to somehow try to circumvent the requirements of having a UAE national owning 51%, who is not actually an actual owner, just a sponsor. But according to the old rules, still you need to have a UAE service agent. Typically, the service agent will not have the same powers or the same authorities of a 51 ownership shareholder. However, for particular type of business, it was a big concern, and the new law comes into force to abolish and revoke the requirements to have a UAE service agent. And those of you who have a branch offices knows that you need to have a service agent in order to be able to register your branch office. According to the new law, such requirements will not be needed anymore. But definitely, this comes in a package where these amendments will only come into force 6 months after the issuance of the new law. The new law was issued or signed in November, so we expect that by next April, the revocation of Article 329 will be in place, and by then, hopefully, again, the committee affiliated to the cabinet will be able to issue the list of activities that will have a strategic impact, that will basically frame the general requirements or the general activities that will really require a UAE nationality. Until then, unfortunately, there is little to be done until we have or we see clarity as to the activities that will be restricted to UAE participation. But I would imagine that the long stop date for our wait will be by mid-April, maximum by May, where the UK parties can actually own the activities 100% and can have the list of activities that will really shed more light on these activities that will be restricted from being 100% foreign owned. I wouldn't imagine that any food and beverage activity will in any way be under this strategic list. So we hope that the food and beverage activities will be or can be 100% foreign owned, and those who have branches of foreign companies, the service agent requirements will not be required anymore. That's basically a wrap-up of the new development under the new companies law. Hopefully, the implementation of the law will prove to be successful. But again, days will tell us if this will be the case. And I would imagine that the key or the magic date on this will be mid-April to the beginning of May. I think I'm almost done with my presentation, and I will definitely welcome any questions that anyone will have.
Thank you very much, Ahmed, for the explanations and the details. Yes, we're having some questions coming in, but most importantly is just the logistics of the question, how being asked. Please, if you have any question for the participants, just type it or raise your hand so we can give you, the microphone so you can ask the question live. Either ways would work. Let me start now with the first question that we had. We had a question from Farhan Mumtaz. Would you like to have the mic, Farhan, to ask the question, or shall I just read it? I'll start by reading it, but please show hand. And Leo, if Farhan raises his hand, please give him the, yes, he did raise his hand. So please give him the mic.
Yeah. Farhan, you can speak.
Hi, gentlemen. How are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, good. So, quick question. I was kind of lost in the whole presentation slides. I mean, this this law that we're talking about, ownership, is it applicable for small business like us, or it's only for for the big guys starting from millions of dollars, with paid up capital of $1 million dirhams, perhaps for that matter, or it is only for not for us? I mean, that's my first question. And then I have another question. A few days back, I've received there was a stimulus package announced by the government asking for relaxation in the renewal fees as well for the license. Is that still applicable for us or not? That's it.
So to address your first question, and it's a very important question. Basically, that's the key distinctive factor between the new amendments to the companies law and the old foreign direct investment law. So under the foreign direct investment law, it was only applicable or available to very large business. So you go with your file, you go to the committee, they smell you, they see the financials, they see your your financial statements, your future and projections for the future, and they will decide whether you will be eligible for the foreign direct benefits, foreign direct investment law benefits or not. Under the new law, there is no, until now, a threshold or a minimum required capital for any investor to enjoy the benefits of being 100% foreign owned. So the only expected scenarios would be to shed more light on the activities that somehow will be limited to either UAE participation or 100% UAE participation. But there is nothing in the law that would say that the foreign ownership availability will be limited to any type of business with a certain size. It will be open for everyone.
Okay. So that means we are entitled for it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So how do we go about doing it? So we have to go where to submit our files or case?
Yeah, as I just mentioned, we need to wait until the issuance of the activities of strategic impact, and then you will need to amend your articles. I think you need to have a discussion with your UAE sponsor as we speak now, and hopefully it will be a friendly discussion. If it's not, we are more than happy to assist. But I think this is more challenging than dealing with the DED or any governmental authorities, because there is a law that governs the relationship. Once you have the discussions with your local sponsor, definitely you can go to the notary public to update your shareholding to allow you to own 100%, which will then be reflected in the trade license.
Okay, fair enough. And my second question?
In relation to all this attractive packaging when it comes to renewal, decrease of renewal fees, as we speak now, this is not really part of the company's law. Typically, this will always be regulated by internal policies and procedures, depending on whether it's Dubai municipality or the DED. I would imagine that they will continue trying to support small and medium enterprises, but again, this is completely has nothing to do with the new company's law.
No, I understand. So that was a different question. Okay, fair enough. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.
Welcome. Now, anybody having questions, please just raise your hand and the mic will go to you. Until we have the next question, Ahmed, I would love to hear from you on how Ibrahim and Partners could actually help the restaurant community and the restaurants who would want to go that journey. You have like special packages that can be designed. What is differentiating Ibrahim and Partners from other law firms?
Thank you, Nader. So basically, I was one of the senior equity partners in El Tamimi. I spent with them, more than a decade, and I've been, as I mentioned, in the region for more than 25 years. I moved on and opened up with my team, so the whole team that was working with me in El Tamimi moved on with me. So we have very hands-on technical and legal experience in the region generally and in the UAE in particular. And definitely we want to help and we want to support the business. And there are different packages that we can always offer depending on the size and the type of work that will be needed. We can definitely offer some sort of a retainer arrangement whereby we can assist companies to comply with the new company's law. If there will be any, contentious side of things with any of the local sponsors, again, we act as a one-stop shop to all our clients. So we are a corporate commercial firm, but at the same time, we have a litigation and arbitration team that can really cover all the aspects of your discussions with your business, whether it's on the commercial side of things or in the contentious side of things. So again, it really depends on a case-by-case basis, but definitely there are retainer arrangements and there will be some sort of a package just to update the article of association to become in line with the new company's law, which will definitely be discounted because, to be very honest with you, it will be somehow a replica to all the other business, definitely with the exception if there are particular provisions that any of the companies would like to maintain or to add to their article of association.
That's great because this is one other win-win that Tawreed, in association with Ibrahim and Partners, can offer to the community. It's by simply gathering all of our needs together. As you said, there will be replicas, there will be one size fits several people. There will be some adaptations to be done. So for all those who are on the call, or those who will hear the call later, if you are interested into restructuring your business to 100% non-Emirati partnership or ownership, or if you want to restructure the shareholding in any case, well, please log on Tawreed, and Tawreed will be having to collect your needs and then go to Ibrahim and Partners and see how we can have a win-win deal out of that for all parties. So thank you for that, Ahmed.
No,
now,
thank you. It's my pleasure.
Any other questions before we wrap it up? Leo, do you have any comments that you want to add?
I don't think so. One more question is in Q&A section. Do you see it regarding stimulus?
Yeah, the stimulus package, Ahmed, would you like to shed some light on the recently announced stimulus package for small businesses?
Yeah, basically, and particularly when it comes to the financial situation of everyone, particularly after the COVID-19 pandemic, the government is trying to support the business by giving somehow stimulus packages and decreasing and reducing the renewal fees. Sometimes they give some sort of a grace period whereby people can actually extend the limitation or the time period required to do particular licensing. Definitely this will not apply across the board. Again, there is no one size fits all answer. It really depends on the license that you have. But generally speaking, there is a great support, particularly when it comes to the ruler of Dubai, to somehow support the small and medium-sized enterprise by giving very supportive and attractive stimulus packages that somehow reduce the renewal fees of the applicable license, and depending on the license that each company will hold, will definitely have its relevant reduced fees.
But how would you suggest we move ahead in that? I mean, who is eligible for it? Who do we talk to? How do we benefit from such stimulus?
Again, particularly in the business that we are talking about, you have two main regulators, is the Dubai municipality and the DED. These are the two key regulators that will be governing the type of business of the food and beverage. Definitely, if other companies would be practicing or being regulated by different regulators, then definitely this will need to be looked into. but for the general food and beverage, it will always be the municipality and the DED.
Good. So anybody willing to benefit from the stimulus package, I think the answer is clear. You have to start approaching the DED and the Dubai municipality, and they will be the ones deciding what kind of benefit they can accord to your business. And it's not one size fits all, apparently. Okay, any other questions, comments any of the participants want to have before we wrap it up? In case you have any future questions for those on the call or for those who will be watching the call later, please feel free to address us at Tawreed. So you can either send direct emails to nader@tawreed.co. Okay, so it's very simple. Tawreed is TAWREED.co, not com. And this will reach me. Nader is NADR. Or just pick up the phone and call Leo or me in case you have our numbers. We'll be more than happy to support you. If you log on Tawreed, in all cases, somebody from our team is going to contact you in case you have any questions as well. In wrapping up the call, I meant to thank Ahmed. Thank you very much, Ahmed, for being with us on the call. That's very helpful. And I'm sure that this recording is going to be addressed and heard and watched by many, many others. So thank you very much for shedding the light. We'll be doing a follow-up call on April once we have all the details and how we can move forward. And hopefully by then we'll have some packages ready as well. Thank you very much, Ahmed, for that. Thank you, Leo, for the organization. And I leave the closing remarks to you.
Yeah, so Ahmed, thank you very much indeed. Yeah, because really very sensitive topic, and for me as well, because we are going to open first restaurant store of our chain in Dubai this year, and like it's very important to look for sponsor or not to look. So yeah, even for me, it's it's very close too. So thank you very much. Yeah, it was very great. Dear participants, would you like me to announce you some news about Tawreed, what was done during the last 4 months, where we are standing right now, and what we are offering? So if yes, please press plus in chat or something for me to understand. Would you like to spend 5 minutes more to hear the latest news from us? Yeah, Ahmed, yeah, once again, thank you very much for your time. Yeah,
thank you, Nader, and thank you, Leo, and thanks everyone, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to participate in this. And I will be more than happy to assist in any way we can.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so if you
all the best
have something to do, you can disconnect. Yeah. Yeah, so regarding Tawreed, let me speak a bit about what was done. So currently we are 4 months old project, we can say, maybe 5 if calculate all, but like 4 of active stage. We have something like 30 people in team, which is quite amazing because I don't understand what all these people doing, but really 30 people. So what was done? We have the portal, and for sure you saw it. By the way, we finally did very, Arabic stylish branding. Now our Tawreed.co is very Arabized. So Tawreed is a one-stop day routine club for HoReCa professionals, and we are here to reduce cost, to simplify operations, to make everything digital, faster, and so on and so on. So we have awarded already something like 50 vendors. All of them you can watch here. There are a lot of big names such as IFCO and very small guys as well also here. So regarding segments, we are most focused on pizza business, everything regarding burgers and meat. We have a lot of for Indian kitchen as well. And just recently, we have started the services part of our portal. So it's all about disinfection, part-time staff, outsourcing, outstaffing, lawyers, and so on, and pest control. By the way, a lot of restaurants started doing pest control through us. So we just help you to provide contacts of several companies you can speak to and make a tender and very easily choose the vendor which will be more affordable for you. All these sections are here. For sure, there is no prices because you need to speak about this service before it will be possible to make a deal. So when we are talking about items, we always have some ratings already here, and ratings provided by you, by our users. And you have prices. Sometimes for sure we are struggling with price updates. Sometimes they are not so actual because supplier, for example, has changed the price and then forget to update. But so that's why we have very, very huge team who taking care of it and trying to keep it updated. So the most important thing is like how to use the portal. I suggest for everybody to start using our portal with very, very simple items, you know, because also one mistake was when we started working with restaurants, we tried to take care about all, you know, very, very important items such as chicken, salmon, tuna, beef, you know. These items very sensitive, impossible to make decision about this item without testing, need to send samples, to check several suppliers before decision will be done, and so on and so on. So, and it takes time. So the best thing is to start with some very simple items. For example, you know, we have currently very good proposal for thermal roll paper. All restaurant need. It's very small, tiny, not so important for sure, because but good price, and you can just start to try the platform, to try our service, and to teach your staff to use us. So you just need to add to cart, and then go to checkout page. Yes, if you don't have account, you need to create. If you have, you just log in, and then in 3 clicks you can check out. So for each vendor, we have different settings for minimum order quantity, and we are working hard always to reduce minimum order quantity, because we understand that currently we are taking through Taurid, we are taking care of the cash purchasers, and so that's why orders not so big, and it's very important to have very low minimum order quantity. So for second part of our job, we have several purchasing concierge, as we call them. So it's very experienced purchasers provided by Lakira. So you can send us your item lists, your current prices, your current turnover. We will look into the market, check, and come back to you with proposals, with tenders, with better prices. And then out of this, you can choose the suppliers whom to work to. Then we will arrange for you the samples. Then you will test if you like the items. So you can start work with new supplier. If you would like to work with your existing supplier through us, it's also okay. So in this case, you need just to ask us, please guys, onboard the supplier. I would like to work digitally with him. Yeah, and also we have a very wonderful chief Mark who is helping restaurants to make decisions about item. If you need any advice about which cheese to choose, or like which flour to use in pizza and so on, so you can call with these questions and ask us. We will help you to choose, considering your recipes, your concept, your format, and so on. So this is first part. It's about cash and delivery purchases. Second part, which we are going to launch, and we are testing it with several restaurants. It's Taurid Circle of Trust. It's a special credit loop for restaurants, which can be used in our platform, because for sure restaurants like to pay with some delays. I mean, not on delivery, but after 30 days, sometimes after 60, and so on. So we agreed with aggregators and also Chat Food and Radius about Taurid Circle of Trust, and it already works, and you can jump in. So this is the idea is that how it works. You submit special contract with Taurid and with Zamata, Talabat, One Click, Ghibli, Tassila, Radius, and Chat Food. That the money which you already have earned, but they still did not send it to you, you can use this money, that you allow them to use this money as a guarantee for suppliers to be paid. So with supplier, we submit special contract that payment for invoice which was 30 days ago is guaranteed by Taurid using this money, and then you just make orders and pay directly to supplier for these orders after 30 days. So, and the only one thing where Taurid currently step in the game, if you don't pay the invoice in 30 days, we just call to Chatfood and asking, please send us 2,000 of this restaurant to us directly. We will send it to supplier. So in this case, we use this guarantee. So that's the thing, and I think it's a very brilliant idea because it allows you to increase your working capital for free. It helps you to start spending money which you have earned on Talabat today. So, and if you, for example, have 100K of monthly sales, and if half of them is from online, so it means that we can provide you credit loop something like for 35K, which is exactly your monthly purchasing turnover. So, and that's the thing, so we can provide you all your monthly purchasing turnover as a credit. And so I think it's very convenient because it's better than loan, better than any other tool, just because it helps, once again, just for free, increase working capital. Yes, and suppliers also who work with us, they agree to keep for such kind of Taurid circle of trust, for these guaranteed payments, they agree to keep cash and delivery prices. And so this is we fully win-win-win situation. So you have good prices, you can pay after 30 days. At the same time, nobody worry about it just because it's guaranteed by this model. How Taurid benefit? It's a very good question. Taurid benefiting from suppliers, which are suppliers via small commission through all sales. So interest of circle of trust is to have more turnover for the platform because we charge suppliers with turnover. So as simple as it is. You know, George, when we investigated the business model of Taurid, we understood very quickly with Nadir that we need to keep the structure that restaurant must not pay here. And we still follow the same idea. Suppliers are very interested to work faster, smoother, and more safely regarding payments with restaurants, and they are ready to pay for this service. So I think it's very good because like they receive turnover, they're ready to pay for this turnover, you receive very good service, and it's free. So it's good even for money, but before money is much better, isn't it? So yeah, that's how it works. So yes, this was the latest news. Our next step is to onboard more suppliers, more restaurants. Our next steps are onboard more service providers, and we are finalizing some technical things on the platform to make checkout process faster, to make it more affordable for suppliers. So we creating different WhatsApp notification for suppliers. We helping suppliers with delivery sometimes because sometimes they can't deliver small quantity of items. So all our efforts currently is on operational flow, you know, to do it as good as Talabat. So you order from Talabat, you will receive pizza after 30 minutes in 99% of times. Yeah, so we are trying to achieve the same in Taurid. So when you have ordered something, you will be sure that in promised time it will come exactly the same item by exactly the same price. And it's very simple, it seems, but to achieve it, a lot of work needs to be involved under the water. And currently we are working on it. Yeah, so there's the thing. Join Taurid, it's free and profitable. I think that's it. Nadir, would you like to add something?
I think it's about time. We're on time now to wrap it up. Thank you, Ahmed, again. Thank you, Leo, for the brief on where Taurid stands. All we want you to remember, Taurid is a club that's made to improve the industry, to help the industry deliver better results, do cost savings that are reasonable and sustainable, get informed, get aligned, and make sure that wherever we do at Taurid, everybody benefits from. So it's win-win all the time. Anything that is winning on one part and not on the other side, we don't do it. So keep that in mind. Our target is 100% of the restaurants in the UAE and only the good suppliers of the UAE. So if we have 100 suppliers for item A, and out of these 100 suppliers, only 50 are abiding by quality, expect to only find these 50 on Taurid and not any supplier. Just those who are committed to quality, committed to the service consistency, committed to the right pricing, etc., are the ones that you should expect on Taurid. So I second my voice to Leo. please join Tawreed. It's not only to do trading and it's not only to save money, it's also to keep you informed, to keep you aligned, to keep you on the edge of innovation, on the edge of digital world, okay, to get things digitized, and only expect innovation and consistent support and help from Tawreed, because that's why it exists. And this is why we came up with Tawreed in the first place. Once again, thank you everybody for having participated. Thanks again, Ahmed. Thank you, Leo. And we're looking forward to seeing you very soon on Tawreed, inshallah. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.